New England Revolution. A product of the University of Maryland, Twellman spent the first 2 years of his professional career in Munich before arriving in Foxborough in 2002. His impact was immediate and profound as he scored 23 goals to lead the Reds to the top of MLS. 3 years later, in 2005, Twellman captured the League MVP award as well as the MLS Golden Boot. Over the course of his 8-year career with the Reds, the 5-time MLS All-Star pumped in 101 goals. No one in MLS at the time scored at a more prolific rate. Twellman's individual exploits helped spur team success. It was a golden era in the history of the New England Revolution. On 4 occasions, 2002, 2005, 2006, and 2007, Twellman and his mates made the finals of the MLS Cup. And in 2007, they won the U.S. Silver Cup. Twellman retired at the young age of 30 due to concussion issues. He has spent much of his time and energy since then promoting concussion awareness in youth and high school sports. Twellman has also emerged as an acclaimed soccer broadcaster for ESPN, making the same type of impact that he did when he was on the pitch for the Revolution. Taylor Twellman, the goal scorer par excellence.
Was a stalwart for the New England Revolution, serving as the team captain, excelling as a midfielder, and racking up a ton of assists, many of them which led to goals by our honoree tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Steve Ralston, who will now present this year's Soccer Legacy Award to his longtime teammate on the powerful revolutions of the 2000s, Taylor Twellman.
Nothing like following Mike Bilberry. Thank you, guys. Woo!
You know, a couple years ago, Billy is here tonight, former Red Sox pitcher, and he was here a couple years ago, and Drew Bledsoe came a little later and said, I'd like to donate 10 minutes of my time back to Billy. So you want to give some back to Mike Bilberry, we can bring on that.
No, I kind of enjoy talking about myself, Tom. I'm going to keep it.
All right, let's give this a whirl then, shall we?
You should, Jackie.
So Taylor, I didn't know this till I did my little research that you actually were drafted by the Kansas City Royals. You could have been a baseball player.
I could have. They couldn't find a helmet big enough to fit my head, so I chose to play the sport that you didn't need to wear a helmet in. Don't kill me, but my grandfather won 2 World Series with the Yankees, so baseball was in my blood.
Okay.
That's all the time we have for Taylor.
So to make it short, yeah, I loved baseball. Baseball was in my blood. But Steve Ralston and I grew up for a majority of our childhoods in St. Louis. It's in the heartbeat, the fabric of the city in soccer, and I think it was just natural for me to play a sport.
Steve, goal scorer par excellence is how they introduced him. But you can score goals, but you got to be able to play the game. Tell us what he did besides scoring goals. What did he mean to this
Nothing.
team?
Honestly, like when I think about him, and I was thinking about what to say. Is like I've never been around somebody who just wanted to score goals as badly as what he did. And I learned this really early. So we both joined the club in 2002, and we went to Brazil for our preseason. We're in the middle of nowhere, like we were in the rainforest, and we were looking to find a game. So we found like this under 16, under 17 team to play against, right? So we played this game. He was new. He didn't start, so he comes in the last 20 minutes of this game.
I was pissed, by the way. I didn't start against the under 16 team.
He comes in, and of course he scores a goal. But at this point, we're already up 7-0. But we'd never know this, by the way. When he scores a goal, we're all walking back to the halfway line like, okay, 7-0 against some kids. And he's sprinting to the corner flag, knee sliding, taking his shirt off, like we just won the World Cup.
First off, it was a good goal. It was a banger of a goal, I'm not gonna lie to you.
That is true. It was a great goal. But that explains, like, for me, I learned right away, like, this guy was different. He just wanted to score goals, and it was the happiest that you'd see him was when he scored. And obviously, it curtailed his career a little bit because he was putting his head in places he shouldn't have to score these goals. And like, he was unique in that sense. But he was very much a professional. He was ahead of his time in the sense of like taking care of himself. Like he ate the right stuff. He did the ice baths. He was doing everything that you would want a professional to do, and that's what he was doing.
I appreciate Steve not telling the same story of that same trip in Brazil. We locked our doors because we were gone from our families for about 4 weeks, and we watched Sweet Home Alabama on repeat 3 times.
But you guys, when MLS was in its infancy, you played overseas because I wonder how difficult it was to decide, well, it's time to come home. Let me play in the U.S. Let me play in front of American fans.
The weather played a big part of it for us, right? In January here,
sure,
up outside, so
right.
we were finding ourselves overseas. But it was great because we got to know each other really well. Like when you're stuck in a hotel room for a month at a time, you got to know somebody really well, and that's when Taylor and I's relationship
to that point though, that's the one decision. I didn't want to come here. I did not want to come to New England.
You were playing in Munich
I
at that
wanted to
time?
be in Boston. I was in Germany.
Right.
September 11th happened, and I missed my family. I wanted my dad, who played professionally for 8-9 years. I wanted him to be able to see my games week in and week out. I did not want to come here. I've been here for 21 plus years, and so it's funny how it's a reminder that life, some things you don't want. I grew up knowing Steve Ralston and knowing who he was. I mentioned that just because Steve's older than me. But the truth is, just a little bit. But I got a friend for life, one of the best teammates I've ever had. I've got teammates that are here that I would take a bullet for. I've got fans here. If you would have told me 21 plus years ago that I would be in Boston, my kids would be here, my wife would be here, I would have said, you're out of your coconut. And I think that's why today it's pretty cool to see Steve fly in from San Jose to talk to you. I know you had to Google my research.
Oh, come on. I know you had to, no, I knew everything about it. You don't remember this. You came on a pregame show with the Red Sox.
Oh, I remember.
As a player. And I'm like, listen, well, I'll get into baseball question. I'll get into baseball question. You start telling me about the bullpen and what's wrong. Like you knew what was going on.
The bullpen was crap that year, so I wanted to throw it in.
Nice. Take my job, too. Here's the thing. 4 MLS finals. That's the good news.
Let's go.
That's the good news. Got to the finals. I was watching the Bills game the other night.
Jim Kelly's a good friend of mine.
As I was Googling you, I was watching the Bills game. But I mean, to come that close, and you got to be a good team to get to the Cup final that many times.
Yeah.
But at what point, I mean, you get there once and you probably think, okay, we'll get there again and we'll do it. Like, at what point does that become a thing?
Well, the first one was 02.
Right.
And I thought it was interesting when you said to kick off this event that it was up until 02 that nobody had won anything here. Well, you should all thank Steve and I because we showed up here and you get every other team in Boston won something.
Except for us.
Except for us.
Yeah.
02 finals what kicked it off in all seriousness. We had 60,000 plus at Gillette Stadium that just opened that year. We lost. Steve would agree with me. That wasn't the good team. But in 05, 06, 07, we should have won at least 2 of those 3. And we didn't. And yet, it's the one thing that I feel the worst part about because the group of fans that are sitting over there, I should have been better in the final. We should have been better in the final, whatever it may be. But yet we got to 4 finals in 6 years. And so those teams will never be remembered for the way they should be, but they should be remembered at a high, because that was at a time the Bruins weren't good, the Celtics weren't good, the Red Sox just beat the Cardinals in 04, the Patriots there was a real opportunity there to grasp that, and that's probably the one, it's easily the one regret I have for not delivering that to this city.
So Taylor, you're a phenomenal broadcaster. I've had so much fun watching you.
I Venmo you $200 before that, just so I could full transparency.
Excellent. But really what I'm most impressed with and what I really appreciate the most is you taking on the issue of concussions, which I think is one of the most serious issues in sports today.
Yep.
For those of you who don't know, Taylor's already offered to donate his brain after he dies for us to check for CD. But I wonder if you can just tell us how you came to that. And I know you had terrible concussions, but are people finally understanding that this is real? This is a very serious.
I mean, Jackie, we're having conversations in 2021 about the injury. The science is there. There's more open conversations. I've had probably more conversations with Premier League owners and medical staffs than I've ever had before. So it's the progressions there. We're still making some asinine decisions with athletes. But it's not about the Steve Ralstons and the Taylor Twellmans. It's about the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. Because if I can educate them and get all the parents in the room the hell out of the way, my money's on the kids making better decisions. I should have made a better decision in 2008. I didn't. But kids are going to make better decisions because, one, I'm going to force them to, but no. It's because I think it's just natural. My money's on the kids. More education, more awareness, you're going to make better decisions.
Got to ask you finally, to see what we were at the Revolution game the other night.
Yeah.
We get into what happened, but the environment was incredible, right? The pregame build-up. I mean, to think of, a lot of us thought that stadium could never have that vibe for a soccer.
He didn't watch us play, did he?
Soccer didn't exist before.
After the 60,000, on the first game. No, but there was because there was the initial one. I remember, I love soccer. There was an initial explosion, right? And then you kind of dove into what it became, okay? We've got this back. There's an educated, passionate soccer fan base here,
Absolutely.
as well as cross country.
One of the best.
What does all this mean? You've got a U.S. team now that looks like it's back on the right track. Where does U.S. soccer go?
You're at the tradition at the Boston Sports Museum talking to two Revolution players. That's where this is. I've been to this event many a times, and I had a chip on my shoulder, not for me, but more so for the Revolution and the sport and the Kraft family to be recognized in this market. This market is a real sports market. I love this market more than anything. It's convinced me to be a broadcaster because of people like you and Jackie and all of our colleagues in this market that drive everyone to be more accountable, more responsible. But for the last 4 months, Tom, for the conversation to include the Revolution, that's what he and I worked for so long. And this thing is going to blow up the moment there's a stadium downtown. And this thing, who the next Steve Ralston is, who the next Taylor Twellman, it's there and it's here. And when the World Cup in 26 is in Boston, watch out, it's going to be a lot of fun.
No doubt about that.
Let's